Greetings and welcome to YOGYOG Alt Anim. I'm YOGYOG, and for the first internet review I thought I'd crackle something simple and uncontroversial like the oldest surviving animated feature film. Excuse me. If you think that Disney's Snow White was the first animated feature film, yes, I can forgive you. I must admit that I did think that this film, The Adventures of Prince Achmed by Lotte Reiniger, was the first animated feature film. However, looking at old Wikipedia, it turns out that an Argentinian bloke, Cristiani, had already created 2 animated feature films, of which no copies exist, because film stock at the time was incredibly flammable, and a lot of films have been lost this way. Would it be presumptuous of me to put an intro sequence on my first review show? I made it myself. Wow. Lotte's usual technique is silhouettes, cut from paper, held together with thread. Basically stop-motion animated shadow puppets. But she's combining it with an Oscar Fissinger technique, where you get a lump of wax, you slice it into thin slices, and you put a different slice on each frame. A bit like the Visible Human project, where they sliced a man and a woman who were condemned to death into thin slices and created this. However, I doubt the series of slices. I don't think you could have put the shadow puppet on top of the slices. I mean, like, when you change from one slice to the other, you'd be knocking the puppet all over the place. But the puppet is reacting to the slices. My guess is that the slices of wax are being projected, frame by frame, onto a light box, and on this light box, the puppet is being animated. Oh, I want this guy to be the hero. Please let him be the hero. He's uniting some of the best animators in 1920s Germany. And he's got a nice beard. So he creates this flying horse, he wants this princess for it, but that isn't the deal. Achmed gets hold of the flying horse and flies off. And I took a while to come up with a joke for this image, and the best I could do was, "But I assure you, officer, I'm only operating the horse's rear lever to make him descend." Your homework is to say that line out of context and get a laugh. And not get punched. And what does our young prince use his new, stolen, flying horse for? Getting laid. A moment about the source material. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'll put that footage back up, yeah, I'll put it up. This story comes from 1001 Arabian Nights. If you don't already know the legend, there was this sultan, and after he slept with a concubine, he'd have her executed. He got through quite a few concubines this way. One, however, came up with this cunning plan that she'd tell a story after sex and leave it on a cliffhanger, so the sultan would have to keep her alive so that he could hear the next episode. This is, apparently, how the stories of 1001 Arabian Nights were written. The Adventures of Prince Achmed comes from these, as does Aladdin, Ali Baba, Sinbad the Sailor. Yeah, and as you can imagine from the context, these stories did have quite a lot of sex in them. This is before Disneyfication was a thing. Also, let's have a look at the profiles of those faces. I think it's safe to assume that Prince Achmed is an Arab. That woman on the left, yeah, I think she looks African, and that one... You know how Star Trek claims to have the first on-screen multiracial kiss? Well, I appear to be looking at a multiracial orgy made a good 40 years earlier. And there's a lesbian kiss. And you can see why Lotte Reiniger had to flee Germany to America when the Nazis took power. Yeah, now, my first major criticism. It does drag a bit. Basing an animated feature while working entirely alone must be pretty hard, so I'll let her off for that. And, you know, my modern eyes find it hard to watch an entire feature-length silent film. Anyway, at the best of times. After 2/3 of the way through, we suddenly run out of the Adventures of Prince Achmed and we start on Aladdin. And unlike the Disney version, he actually looks Chinese. Yeah, he was Chinese, you know. You know how Shakespeare set Hamlet in Denmark, despite the fact he'd never been there? Yeah, well, do you want to see the genie? Ah, sand animation. There'll be more of that when we look at the work of Caroline Leaf next time.
I lost my hand in a freak powering accident. So I call Claims Direct. Now I've got a nice hook, a nice cottage in Somerset, and Captain Cook no longer allows combined harvesters aboard ship.